Hello, and thank you for joining us for the OxTS webinar, giving an introduction to NAVdisplay, which will be run by our support engineer, Lily Munn. There'll be time for questions at the end, but please ask them as we go using the questions box, and we'll answer as many as we can once the presentation material is over. Over to you, Lily.
Thank you, Caroline. Yes, just to reiterate what Caroline said, the presentation will last around 30 minutes and the webinar will be recorded and a copy will be sent out at the end of the webinar. And yeah, so please ask questions throughout the webinar using the question tab and we'll get to them at the end. Thank you. So this webinar just covers the basics of NAVdisplay. NAVdisplay is our tool for viewing OxTS data from our units in real time. And you can use it with several different of our formats, but NCOM is the standard. This is just the navigation output of a single RT. Now it has all the data and the calculated measurements that is outputted by our navigation engine. It also allows you to monitor the status of your unit as well as making some changes to the configurations. Using some additional utilities. So the features of NAVdisplay, it has several pre-made templates to help you with warm-ups or different types of tests or just the different monitoring that you want to do. And it is customizable, so you can create and customize your own templates as well as customizing the widgets themselves by color coding them to within different tolerances. And there is also additional utilities that we have. So we have quick config, which can be used to adjust the configuration if you want to zero your offsets or if you want to add local coordinates. This can be done in quick config. You can also check the feature codes and firmware using the device status, and you can record sections of the NCOM stream using our test and save utility. So when you first open NAVdisplay, you'll need to select a stream to view. And this is just basically selecting the RT that you're going to view data from. So if you do only have one unit on the network, you can just tick this box down here and it will just skip this page because there's only one device to choose. And this will also automatically open the performance template, but you can change this as required. Yes, so this is the performance template, which is the default one that's opened. And when you do open this, these are the measurements you'll see. So in the top left-hand corner here, it's just the position mode and velocity mode, as well as the relative accuracies. And then below that, in the bottom left-hand side, is the number of satellites used, as well as tracked on the primary and secondary antenna, and ones used in the GPS heading solution. And then we have a section on the right with the relative speeds and velocity, and then orientations with their accuracies, as well as offsets if there is an offset needed. If there is an offset that the RT is calculated, as well as then the time down in the corner, and then the three graphs with accelerations, angular rate, and innovations. And when you do open the templates, you can change the stream you're viewing by selecting the drop-down arrow on the stream assignment bar. So this again will just show all of the RTs that you have available on the network that you can change to. And if this isn't available, if this isn't visible, you can toggle it on and off using the view button at the top of the menu. And this is just also where you can add in the additional option bars and command bars we have available, so you can turn on and off what you do or don't use. So the pre-made templates that we have built into NAVdisplay, the four basic ones are available on the quick start bar just at the top, so it's easy to change between them, but you can change which ones are displayed here. But the four basic ones are warm-up template, performance, dual antenna, and data recording. And I'll just kind of go into what these templates are used for. So when you change between templates as well, you also need to select the stream, unless again you've select it, you just have one unit and you've selected this tick box. There's also further templates that aren't in this quick start bar, are just in this template drop down. So you can select these, select the template you want, and then press the little play button, and that will take you to selecting that template. So each of the templates have different selection of widgets, which show different measurements, tailoring the templates to different purposes. So the warm-up template, as the name suggests, helps with when you're warming up. So this is just after you've initialized the system. You can make sure all the accuracies are within tolerance, and everything is stable. All of our templates are color coded, so when everything is good, it should all be green. If I just show you here, this is a quick just snippet. Ready to looking on, and then it'll go and then are being performed. So next is the performance template, which we went over a bit to begin with, but this is just the default. So if you are just wanting to monitor the system, this is just an easy one to check that your position mode accuracy is correct, and the other accuracies you're happy with, as well as just viewing that the accelerations and angular rates that are occurring are being reflected correctly by the unit. So the dual antenna template allows you to check various measurements about the antennas and GPS status. So it does give you additional information about the specific satellites tracked, GPS versus GLONASS, as well as ones that are being shared between the two antennas and are used in the dual antenna solution. And then it also gives you just some additional information about the antennas. So if you are using a 3000, you also have the antenna status and power, just to make sure that the antenna that you are using is actually powered on and you do have a closed circuit. And then finally is the data recording template, and this is similar to the performance template with the widget it has around, but it also has the test and save utility docked just in the center, so you can easily record the encon data during the testing. And with this, you can choose start and stop conditions, or you can just manually turn on the data recording, as well as you can also set up this to output CSVs straight from the testing that you've done. So you don't have to go through post-processing and then outputting the CSVs from that. You can just output them straight from our software using this test and save software, but we will go into that in a little bit more detail later on. So if you do need a specific measurement, you can just add that as a widget and dock it into templates, or you can start your own template and build it up with several different widgets if you wanted a more customized one. But there are various different types of widget. So the widgets we have are listed here: analog, digital, traffic light, or there's measurement list and graphs. I'll just show you what each one's like. So this is the analog. It's just a classic analog measurement, but you can also customize the measurements. The digital is just the number and the actual measurement. And then there's the option of traffic light. So this is just, it'll just show several different colors depending what limits you set for it. And then with the analog or traffic light, there's the option of having it just automatically combined with the digital measurement, so you can more clearly verify what the actual measurement is. You can also have measurement lists, so you can add as many measurements as you like with different units, and then just have it as a measurement list that will just live update as you look at it. Or you can have graphs, so again you can add several different measurements. You can change the amount of time that's being logged on the graph, so how much time it looks back to, how much time it saves, and you can also just add the legend to a graph by just right-clicking and viewing the legend. And again, you can color code all of these as required, so you can set different boundaries. When you are adding a measurement, this is the measurement list that we offer. So all the measurements are kind of grouped together in different folders to make it easier to find, but we do just have a search bar if that's needed, as well as if you do need to add measurements, add a stream, you can just enable it with the enable more stream. And when you do add the measurement, if you select which stream you want to add the measurement from, as you can view multiple different streams on the same template if you do add different widgets from different units. So yeah, see, this is just the filter box if you do want to just search for a specific measurement by typing in the measurement name. And then if you do want to enable more streams, if yours isn't coming up on this list, you can just enable it in the drop down from this enable more streams. And then so the widgets can be docked or undocked, so they can just be completely separate to the template, or you can dock them into the template. And when you do this, you have the option to replace the one that you're putting it over. So it'll be like two tabs, you can click between them, or you can have it above or next to. So when you do dock it next to a template, it just takes up half the space, and you can change the weighting if you'd like. So once you do have a modified template, you can just save it, your template, by going to File, Save As, and this will save it into the correct location. So it will then appear in the drop-down menu on the template bar. So you can then later on quickly reopen your template. So widgets can also be customized. So you just right-click to configure, and again you can change. So just like different widgets will have different configuration options, but you can change minimum and maximum ranges. You can color code as required. You can change the measurements. You can change the units that are displayed just easily through the configure option. And another thing you can do with NAVdisplay is send commands. And this is just using the send command bar, which is located at the bottom of the screen. You just select the device that you wish to send, and then enter the command. So the most common command that's kind of going to be used by most customers is just the reset command. So it's just ! reset, and this just does a soft reset on the unit. So it will take less time for it to boot back up than doing a full power cycle. So if you just want to start a new RD file, or if you initialize poorly and you just want to reset the system, it's just easier and quicker than having to power cycle the whole system. And again, you can add this just through the view options if it is not visible on your screen. So now moving on to the quick config utility. This is available just in the utilities drop-down menu, and it can be used for zeroing offsets or setting local coordinates. So the first thing you do is, when you open this, is select the unit you want to configure. So this will just be a drop-down, and it'll just have all the units that are available on the network. And then you just choose what you'd like to do. So if you'd like to view your slip and pitch offsets and zero them, or if you want to set local coordinates or surface tilt. There's also an advanced command section if you do have, for example, a new feature code list to apply. You can do that through that advanced command section. If you do go for the offsets, this is what it'd be. So it will just have the calculated offset angle by the RT. So this is just the value. The RT itself can calculate the difference between the actual orientation of the vehicle versus the RT. So if you do have an offset between the vehicle and the RT as you warm up can calculate this. And then once you're stationary, you can apply this offset, and then the output given by the RT will match that of the vehicle, instead of having a little bit offset just due to the actual installation error, as it is hard to perfectly align the RT with the vehicle. The system can just calculate that error. So in this case, this configuration is off by almost half a degree, which would be quite hard to visibly see with the actual RT in the car. But the unit can tell, and then you just zero it and you apply it, and then it'll all be saved into the configuration. And so you do have two options down here at the bottom, and that's just save it onto the RT permanently or just until it resets. So it depends if you want to change the actual configuration or not. It depends just what you're doing with the system. Another feature is just setting local coordinates. So to set them, you just firstly drive to where you want the origin to be and select the Set Origin button. And then from there, you drive along where you'd like the x-axis to be in 100 meters. And then once you've driven that 100 meters, the Set Axis button will be clickable, and you can just click that. And again, you have the option to save this either just onto the unit until a reset, or permanently into the configuration using the options below. The next is the device status utility, and this just is a way to view the feature codes and the hardware configuration that are on the unit. If you do just want to check these, or if you've updated the feature codes and you want to check they've been taken, this is just how you do it. Again, you can select the device and then the feature codes. They'll come up with enabled, disabled, or not available, depending on what is on the unit. Next is the test and save utility. This is used to log NCOM while the test is running, and you can create specific start and stop conditions for the tests that you're running. So the first thing to do is you can select the streams. So these are just the streams that you're going to be recording, and then you can go onto the file, and this will just choose where you save the files, as well as what you call them, and you can also load or save tests from this option. So if you have set start and stop conditions or CSV outputs, you can save all of that setting and then load it up next time you do that same test, just for simplification, just so you're not repeating work on that front. And when you do add start and stop conditions, these kind of your options, so you can do it on the trigger of a unit if you do have a trigger attached to the unit, or also just conditions set by one of the unit measurements that we output. So it can be time, it can be velocity, it can be relative distance if you are using an RT range system, or time to collision. And then you can set those as required, so you only record for the specific part of the test that you're interested in, just to simplify, so you're not having to manually start and stop the test and save. So thank you, that is all of the presentation, but we'll just go into a demonstration using the actual software now. Let me just sorry, I'm just trying to set this. So yeah, this is the NAVdisplay software. So I'm just going to be using another feature, another utility, which is file replay. So this allows you to play back a NCOM file or an XCOM file, and then view the data like you would have it in live stream. So you just select the file and press play. and that's just because I don't have a unit here with me. So this is the warm-up template, as you can see, and we'll just be going through the different measurements. So at the top there's the navigation status, which in this case is ready to initialize, and then once you have initialized, you'll go through, here we see it's locking on, and then it'll go into real time. And we can also see the measurements. So here in the center is the position accuracies, and then below that is the orientation accuracies. This file was taken from a unit that has already gone through a full warm-up and has got improved settings. So the configuration that's saved onto here is already very tight. It's already good. So all that needs to be done is just some short maneuvering, just similar to the testing that you'll be doing, just so the sensors don't get anything unexpected during the actual testing, so it knows how to handle them. So as you can see, everything is nice and green, so that's everything's ready to go. There is one thing to mention, which is the GPS lever arm accuracy in the Z direction here is still yellow. It's still only around 3 centimeters accurate. And this is because it is just a lot harder to warm up that Z axis, as this was taken in a car, and you just don't get nearly as much movement in that axis. So the RT can't calculate that measurement as accurately and as quickly as it can with the other ones. So if you are doing testing where you do need position accuracy down to like the 1 centimeter level, or so, not like the 3 that we're getting here, you will just need to warm up that axis more specifically. But in a lot of cases, you don't need that, and that's why this is yellow. And then here we just have the position innovations and the velocity innovations, and you can see they are nice and stable, and that kind of indicates that you are warmed up. So you're not getting any big changes, big jumps in innovations. The unit is just stable. So from here we can just move on. So I'm going to go and check the performance template. So as I do just have the one unit or the one file playing back, I don't have to choose while changing templates. There is just the one option. So moving here, you can see the linear accelerations and the angular rates that are being experienced, as well as just the position accuracy, the dual antenna altitude mode, the differential age here just gives the age of the corrections that I'm receiving, and this is kind of indicative to how accurate the corrections are going to be. If you do start to get a higher number here, that means you've probably lost correction signal, and then your position accuracy will start to degrade. But it's just a good check that you are still connected to the base station or NTRIP correction service that you are using, that your differential age is nice and low. You can also see here that we do have a slip and pitch offset. As we are still moving, this is still being calculated by the system, but once you are stationary, that is when you can then go into the utilities and zero this offset. Now if I move on to data recording, I'll just show you quickly how to use, how to set up the test and save software, if that is something you are doing. So yeah, firstly, just select the stream. Yep. You do have enabled. So it's just and then from there you can just choose where you save this in the files. If you do have saved tests, you can load them in from here, or you can also save them from here. And you also have the option to open NavGraph after each test. If you do just want to quickly check the data that you've just recorded, just to see if it is kind of the test you've done is successful. So you can also change which template it opens in NavGraph from here. And then moving on to the start and stop conditions. So you do again have the option of having it on the trigger of a unit if that is the option that you'd want, or you can add it as a condition from a measurement. So sorry, this is opening onto the wrong screen, but yeah, so if we just go on to the velocity measurements, so doing it on speed is quite an easy one. If you know you're having to set up a test and it's only valid for a certain speed, so you can just set it up when you get to that speed and then stop the test when you get to 0, showing that you've stopped the test. So if you set up just full speed, and then from this you can select, so you can enable or disable, so you can have multiple different conditions kind of set up, and then enable and disable as you go through different tests. And yes, you can just select the value, say you're doing a test at 10 meters per second. In this case, you would want it as a rising condition as you're going through, as it's when you're speeding up past that value. But there is also the option to have it as falling over and under, depending on what kind of measurement you are using this as. And then down here is also the option of setting up a pre-trigger duration. So this means it's going to save data from, say, the previous 2 seconds to when you actually start the test, before you started this condition. So you do get a little bit of extra wiggle room either side if that's what you want. And it's the same kind of thing if you're setting up the stop conditions. You can choose your measurements, you can set the values, you can set rising and falling, you can have the post-trigger duration. So there are quite a lot of options. And then here in this setting page is just where you choose if you did want to output a CSV, you can just add the CSV measurements, you can add different headers. And then in the report page, it will just have the previous CSVs that you've outputted. So that is the NAVdisplay software. So now if I just go back to the presentation, we'll run through your questions. So thank you. Caroline?
Yeah, thank you, Lily. Just get my screen back. Yeah, we've had a couple of questions. So if now we finished Lily's presentation, if anybody else has got any other questions, please type up in the questions box and we'll answer as many as we get through. So Lily, the first one is regarding the file replay and how you managed to record the NCOM stream to replay it.
So you can either record the NCOM stream, as I showed you there, in using test and save, but also you can post-process the RD files that are on the unit that are logged each time you turn the unit on using our NavSolve software, and that will make the NCOM stream, the NCOM files, which you can then replay in NAVdisplay. So you can either live log them or you can post-process it.
The next question is, can you provide us with an NCOM file to be used as a baseline of what good data looks like?
We can provide examples if that's something you'd want, but it's quite specific, I guess, to what kind of testing you're doing. But if you want to look at different accuracies or just have a play around to look at the kind of data, that is something we can provide. If you just email support@oxts.com. I think that's the easiest way for us to get you that data, if that's something that you'd want to look at.
And the final question we've got at the moment, it says, in the performance window, there are lots of colour-coded lines on the graph. Is there any legend that we can see?
Yes, so if you right-click, there's the option just to view the legend, and then it'll just stay fixed next to the graph, if that is something that you want to see. Yeah.
That's we've still got a bit of time if anybody else has any more questions. Looks like not at the moment. So thank you very much for attending. There are various other webinars running throughout the rest of April and into May as well. And you can find details of those on the resources hub on the OxTS website. So yeah, we will be sending out a copy of this shortly. The webinar was recorded, and those who are registered should get a copy within the next day or so. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.